Well, we're almost at the end of uh, John 17, which is where the study that we've been looking at, Jesus with his disciples just before the crucifixion ends. But I just want to focus in on two verses that we looked at on Sunday and ask some questions. Here we go. So the two verses are verse 15 and 17. Jesus said this. He said, I am not praying for you to take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. Jesus was praying for his disciples and by extension praying for you and for me also. He said, don't take them out of the world, but protect them from the evil one. And then in verse 17, he said, sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. Now, did Jesus focus on the disciples' short term, urgent needs, immediate needs, or long term, deeper needs? I think we can say he focused on their long term, deeper needs. That's what he wants for us. He's looking at the long picture, not just the short term, not just the immediate. Just think about this. If Jesus had been focused on short term needs, how might he have prayed for Peter? Remember back the story is that Jesus said, Peter, Satan has asked permission to sift you like wheat, but I've prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you've turned again, when you've come back, strengthen your brothers. If Jesus had just been focused on the short term need in Peter's life, how do you think he might have prayed? I think he might have said, okay, Lord, protect him from Satan. Don't let Peter stumble and fall. Keep his faith strong. Don't let him deny me. Just let him stay strong all the way through it and not give in. But Peter, that's not what Jesus prayed, and that's not what happened to Peter. But let me ask you this. Did God protect Peter from the evil one? I think he did. But he didn't protect Peter in the way that Peter or you or I might have thought the Lord should. Rather than keeping the temptation away from him, the Lord allowed Satan to bring that temptation and for Peter to fall flat on his face. But what was the long-term benefit of that? How did God use that to sanctify Peter? And remember, sanctify means to set apart for God, and to make us more like Jesus. How do you think Peter became more like Jesus after he had stumbled and failed, and then Jesus had come to him and said, Peter, do you love me? And Jesus said, feed my sheep. I'm going to use you. You're going to be useful to me. I can't help but believe that Peter became a more humble, more patient and kind and gentle person than he was before. He was so arrogant and so proud, so self-assured, but he learned he too needed the grace of God. Well, here's a personal application. Has there been a time in your life when God didn't answer an urgent prayer, something that an immediate situation that you felt like needed to be dealt with in a certain way, but then God didn't answer it the way you asked, but then later you saw how God had brought about a better long-term results because of his wisdom, of what he knew, and how he was going to work things together for good. You know, Jesus was, when he prayed this for his disciples, he was just hours away from his death on the cross. And it was going to look like, to the disciples, it was going to look like God the Father was not protecting God the Son. I mean, the Father allowed the Son to go through that horrible experience of death on the cross. But the Father and the Son, Jesus agreeing, Father, thy will be done, had chosen to endure the agony of the cross in order to bring about a long-term deeper purpose that that unfolds to us right here today, right where we are, to bring you and me and millions of others into the family of God. God's got his ways that are different from ours. We can trust him, and he will sanctify us. He brings us, makes us more like Jesus so that we relate and react more like Jesus. And he teaches us through his word. He said, sanctify them by the truth. And he said, your word is truth. So stay in the scripture. Let God show you what he's up to. And then when there's times we can't understand what's going on, remember these words of Babby Mason's song. I love it. It says, God is too wise to be mistaken. God is too good to be unkind. So when you don't understand, when you don't see his plan, when you can't trace his hand, trust his heart. Let's do that. God bless.